Well, on that basis, Madam Deputy Speaker, it must have been a very different Home Secretary who, as a child, was frequently called a packy in the playground.
We really out here, we really do this. Fuck all the snakes, fuck all the Judas, sawn off and Lugas, reformers, Jakes and intruders.
Does the Home Secretary recognise that there's structural inequality, discrimination and racism in our country?
I'm really saddened that the Honourable Lady has effectively said that this government doesn't understand racial inequality. Well, on that basis, Madam Deputy Speaker, it must have been a very different Home Secretary who, as a child, was frequently called a packy in the playground. A very different Home Secretary who was racially abused in the streets, or even advised to drop her surname and use her husband's in order to advance her career. A different Home Secretary recently characterised, if Madam Deputy Speaker I can say so, in the Guardian newspaper as a fat cow with a ring through its nose, something that was not only racist but offensive, both culturally and religiously. This is hardly an example of respect, equality, tolerance or fairness. So when it comes to racism, sexism, tolerance or social justice, I will not take lectures from the other side of the House. I have already said repeatedly there is no place for racism in our country or in society. And sadly, too many people are too willing, too casually, to dismiss the contributions of those who don't necessarily conform to preconceived views or ideas about how ethnic minorities should behave or think. This, Madam Deputy Speaker, in my view, is racist in itself.
On your question about Priti Patel, Mesa, I think that, of course, Priti Patel was not wrong to talk of her personal experiences of racism. And I've seen this letter, and I abhor this divisive identity politics that's being levelled at Priti Patel. I'm incredibly proud to be part of the most diverse government in history. I'm very proud to be part of that with Priti and Rishi and Alok and Nadeem and Kemi and Ranil and James and Suella and all the rest. And we don't think that there's such a thing as the wrong type of BME. We think that people are equal. And that's what we need to see as a society, everybody seeing others as equal. And I just hope that the debates that are rightly taking place are debates that are all about how we can promote true equality of opportunity and see everybody for the individual that they are.
In his own foreword to that code, the Prime Minister wrote, there must be no bullying and no harassment. Will he now commit
like a
to
Dyson.
an independent
Fucking me, Mike
investigation
Dyson. You're like Dyson.
into the
Your
Home
head's scuffed like
Secretary's
Mike
conduct,
Tyson. I'm a
led
Titan.
by an external lawyer, and commit to a date when its findings will be made public?
Mr. Speaker, of course it's right that there should be an investigation into any allegations of bullying. That's what the Cabinet Office is doing. That's what Sir Alex Allen will, of course, be doing. But I just remind him, since he mentions the Home Secretary, that she is keeping this country safe by putting in record numbers of police officers. She believes in stopping the early release of offenders, and she's bringing in a system to tackle our migration crisis with an Australian-style points-based system. He would scrap stop and search. He believes in getting rid of our security services, and he certainly wouldn't tackle our immigration system, Mr. Speaker.
Jeremy Corbyn.
It's about whether he will release the findings of an investigation into the Home Secretary's behaviour. I repeat to him, a government cannot be judge and jury over its own conduct. There has to be an independent element to that investigation. Overnight, Mr. Speaker, further allegations have emerged that the Home Secretary repeatedly harassed and humiliated her private secretary while she ran the Department for International Development. If this is true, this suggests a shocking and unacceptable pattern of behaviour across 3 government departments. On each occasion, tens of thousands of pounds of hard-earned taxpayers' money has been spaffed up the wall to buy their silence. Was the Prime Minister aware of these allegations? And if he was, why did he appoint her?
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to repeat the point I just made. The Home Secretary is doing an outstanding job. I have every confidence in her. If there are allegations, of course, it is right that they should be properly investigated by the Cabinet Office, and that is what is happening. But I take no lessons about bullying, Mr. Speaker, from the leader of a party where female MPs were bullied so badly in the matter of anti-Semitism they actually left the party, and where the Shadow Chancellor has still not apologised for his call for a member of our party to be lynched.
Jeremy Corbyn!
The Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said if there are allegations. Is he completely unaware of all the allegations that have been made over the last few days? Is he completely unaware of the resignation of a permanent secretary because of his treatment by the Home Secretary? Mr. Speaker, we have a part-time Prime Minister who barely turns up but is determined to cover up for bullies in his government. There can't be one rule for workers across this country and another one for him and his ministers. When his Home Secretary has been accused of repeated bullying and harassment, leading to hard-working staff attempting suicide by overdose, he gave her his full support. How can the people of this country have faith in a Prime Minister who can't be bothered to turn up, and when he does, has no shame in defending bullying in his own government?
Well, Mr. Speaker, that is the question from a full-time neo-Marxist who's failed to stamp out bullying in his own party.
The purpose of this new system is to create a single global immigration system that the UK government is in control of. So yes, we will bring overall numbers down by reducing the number of people with low skills coming to the United Kingdom, but also by ending freedom of movement through our exit from the European Union. We cannot simply just rely on low skill, low wage, low cost labour coming in from the EU, which we have become dependent upon through our membership of the European Union and through free movement of labour. Our approach to the points-based system is for the brightest and the best. It's for the high skills that we do need to be a highly productive, highly efficient and highly dynamic economy. This is a UK-wide system that we are announcing and proposing today, and that is why we will be applying our points-based system to the whole of the United Kingdom. And obviously Scotland will equally benefit from having the brightest and the best coming to their businesses, their universities, some of their high-skill sectors, and that is something that will benefit the Scottish economy, the whole of the United Kingdom economy, and obviously Scotland too. There is nothing that I can say today which will undo the pain, the suffering and the misery inflicted upon the Windrush generation. What I can do is say that on behalf of this and successive governments, I am truly sorry for the actions that spanned decades, and I'm sorry that people's trust has been betrayed. And we will continue to do everything possible to ensure that the Home Office protects, supports and listens to every single part of the community it serves.
You were having unauthorised meetings with senior Israeli figures, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It looked sneaky. It looked like a cabinet minister was going around the back of her boss and exercising a bit of power play, building up relations with allies and so on. Why were you doing it?
Well, I disagree with that, and I take the view that, you know, as a politician, we all know other politicians around the world. You know, whether you are abroad, on business or even on holiday, I think it's remiss if you don't actually go and meet people that you know, and that's what I did. There was no malice intended.
Shouldn't you tell your boss, though, when you're meeting
Well,
world
you know,
leaders?
in hindsight, of course, Piers, absolutely, in hindsight, and that's why I left the government, because obviously it caused clear difficulties.
Hang on a moment.
And I apologise.
I wouldn't have thought it was about hindsight. If you're going to meet the Prime Minister of Israel, foresight should tell you that you would tell your own leader, the Prime Minister of the UK.
I think it's fair to say I have accepted that. I apologise. There was no malice intended whatsoever at the time, and I, you know, left the government. And
So why did you meet him?
Well, he's somebody that I know. I've met him before, and I had the opportunity to meet him. And to be fair, as I've said, when I've been abroad before, and politicians do know other politicians around the world, and I would have thought, for your viewers in particular, it's a good thing that politicians actually in this country get on with other politicians.
I don't disagree with that.
Well, what I would say, of course, completely understand people's desire to express their views and have that right to protest. But the fact of the matter is we are in a health pandemic across the United Kingdom, and coronavirus is a deadly virus. And of course, I'd say to those that want to protest, please don't. The regulations are very clear, in terms of gatherings and mass gatherings in particular. We must put public health first at this particular time. And also I'd say to individuals and even some of the organisers across the community, speak to the police, because obviously the police are on the streets today. I've just had the operational briefing here from the Metropolitan Gold Command team, and they want to engage, explain and talk to people so that people, if they do come out, can be kept safe. And importantly, we can try and stop the spread of this horrendous virus, particularly in the community at a time when we're certainly not out of the woods yet. Of course, we do not want to see violence. We do not want to see the protests get out of hand, and the police are very conscious of that. They will always do the right thing. As I've said, they will engage, they will encourage. Enforcement is the last resort. But also I would say to the organisers of any events that are taking place across London, but also across the country, because it's not just London, there are many other planned events across the UK, that the organisers speak to the police, engage with officers, so that they can help to keep the public safe. It is the responsibility of the Mayor of London to ensure that policing, but also protests in particular, do not manifest in the way in which they have done. He has a duty as well to communicate to Londoners, to express their own views in a right and proportionate way by sticking to the regulations that have been outlined by government already. I myself made views very clear over the weekend, as did the Secretary of State for Health, that we do not want to see these protests take place. We are in the midst of a health pandemic. By doing so, by gathering in this way, people's lives are being put at risk. That is not helping anybody. That is not going to stop the spread of the virus. That is not going to protect the NHS. So the Mayor of London has a very, very important role to play right now, and I would urge him to step up and do exactly that.
Blacked out helmet, quick drive by. Big black strap on the 125. Bap on the black quad bike. Yeah, you think that you're bad, but you're not that type. Yeah, you think that you're big, but you're not that guy. Friends think that you are, but that's all hype. No Tyson when I draw for the mic, and if I fall backwards, won't leave with your life. Sniffing up coke like a Dyson. Fucking with me, you might die, son. You're like guy, son. Get your head took off like Mike Tyson. I'm a titan.